Greetings and welcome. This is Coach VeronicaMarie, and I'm here to discuss the third agreement. This discussion is a part of a book study that I have in one of my private communities on the four agreements. And in this community, our goal is to become the next version of ourselves through understanding the four agreements and applying these principles for a healthier and a happier life. The third agreement is don't make assumptions. In order to not make assumptions, we can't just decide, I'm not going to assume anything. Because the assumption is happening on a subconscious level already. So by the time it makes it to our conscious mind, we have already concluded something. And so don't make assumptions has a deeper implication in our lives. You see, the reason that we assume things is because we judge things, okay? So if we were going to stop making assumptions, we would have to address our judgments. And the reason we judge things is because we have a certain way of perceiving things. So if we were going to stop making assumptions, we would have to address our judgments and perceptions. And our perceptions depend on our belief system. So again, if we were going to systematically stop assuming, we would have to stop our judgments, or rather, evaluate our judgments, perceptions, and ultimately belief systems for accuracy and for truth. Belief systems govern why we don't move in the second agreement, which is don't take things personally. We take things personally because we believe a certain thing, we perceive a certain way, we judge, we assume, we have expectations, right? Be impeccable with your word. A lot of times you're not impeccable with your word because you got some belief systems that don't allow you to be impeccable. So while these phrases are catchy and they're good for our memory, we must always understand that if we're going to stop doing any of these things, we have to remove the belief systems and replace them, because the belief systems are our subconscious programs. They run our autopilot. They come up when we're triggered. They come up when we're not mindful. They come up when we're tired. You know, all of these things come up from our subconscious for us to see, to evaluate, right? And if the things come up from our subconscious and we deny them, then they go back into the subconscious until the next time. And so even if you have the intentions and the intention not to assume anything, you're still going to assume things, even if you don't verbalize it. Okay. So this is a deep shadow work experience. And these phrases are simple and catchy, but we must always remember that the belief systems are at the heart of everything. So here's the other thing we must understand, that every person is the center of their own inner verse. Every person is. Every person has their own system of beliefs based upon their family, their culture, their experiences, the conditioning from other places. And we are not moving by the same belief systems. And even when we are, sometimes we're still perceiving things a different way, judging things a different way, and assuming different things. Here's an example. So I might see a person roll their eyes and assume they had a bad day, but they really were rolling their eyes at me because they were angry. Or I could see a person rolling their eyes and go, oh, they're angry at me. And I could be wrong because they may just have had a bad day. You see, we're inside our own head, making up stories, scenarios, and drawing conclusions about things outside of ourselves. And that's where we're going wrong. That's where we're ruining things for ourselves. But we can come out of it when we understand what the belief system is that caused it all. Right? So, for example, a big belief system I teach on all the time is love is action. People believe love is action. Love is not action. Love is a vibration. It's a way of being. It may or may not accompany action. But because people believe this, they're looking for proof of love through action. And when they see inaction, they're deciding that the person doesn't love them. And so that will cause them to assume things about the person's action or actions. And then they're usually off because a person can love you and not be acting a particular way. Do you see how a belief system would cause you to assume something? We believe, and let's say we both, or three people, or a team, a group of people, a family, let's say the whole family believe that love is action. Then we show action based upon our own experience, our own ideas. And let's say the person doesn't perceive the action as love. We assume that the person wanted that expression, but they didn't. They wanted something else. And then there's confusion and discord. How can we stop assuming? We need to reevaluate our belief systems to see whether or not they align with universal truth, and then work from there. The next best thing as you're healing through that is to ask clarifying questions. Clarifying questions are designed to help you get into the mind of another person so you don't have to do the work of assuming. Getting in the mind of the other person will help you to rest a little bit because you can form some accuracy. But here's the thing, if you've been making assumptions for your whole life, you can ask clarifying questions and the person can answer it for you. But if you're very attached to your assumptions and your belief systems, they could be telling you how they feel and you won't believe them. They could be letting you into their mind and also heart, but you won't believe them. And so again, the work is at the level of the belief system, releasing the belief system and taking on one that is more in alignment with truth. Years ago, I heard this teaching on the meaning-making machine in our head. We all have a meaning-making machine. Something happens and we go, that means, and the meaning that you derive from a particular thing depends on what's going on in your own mind. And you think that is reality. And it's not. It's just your reality. But the shared reality outside of your head can be very different than the meaning you derived from looking at a situation. So a good rule of thumb is to describe what happened rather than form a meaning. Because once you form a meaning, you assume that that is reality for other people outside of your head. Describe what happened. She walked in the room with an attitude. She slammed the door. Describe things and then ask, what did it mean when you slammed the door? If you think about your meanings are often creating suffering for you. I know why she did it. I know why she did it. She did. So many times I hear people say that, and I know why they did it. They did it because, did you ask? No, but I already know, because if it was me, right. If it were you, but it's not you. It's them. And even if your assumption is correct, we're here to be relational beings. So the point of communication is to share an experience with another person. And you're not wanting to share an experience with another person when you are attached to the stories and the meanings that are in your head. Even if the assumption is right, you still have not formed intimacy with that person. You cannot cultivate intimacy when you're full of assumptions and meanings in your own mind and not in a shared reality, in a shared space. I know some people often say, well, my assumptions are right sometimes. Sure, they are. But the point is to be relational. So if you could gather all the evidence and all the truths in your own mind, then you don't need anybody else. But as humans, we are relational beings. So we do need other people, because other people are our reflections of shadow and light. We need that. And so it makes sense that by design, our assumptions are not going to be correct 100% of the time, or most of the time. One of my favorite things to say to people when I realize they're assuming something about me is I'll say, that's not my reality. Would you like to hear mine? Those are not my thoughts. Would you like to know my thoughts? Those are not my words. Would you like to hear my words? That's a good question. When people are assuming something about you, you can say that. That wasn't what I was thinking. Do you want to know what I was thinking? And that is the end of the third agreement for the intents and purposes of this book study. If you ever need one-on-one coaching, you can find me at VeronicaMarie.com. I offer one-on-one coaching and courses to help you live a healthier and a happier life as I discover my own healthier and happier life. I know something that was said tonight caused some thought or some shift in your consciousness. And I pray that these things will continue to be seeds that will take root in their season. That's it for tonight, y'all. I'll see you tomorrow at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the fourth agreement.